everyone. Welcome to Freelance Unlocked Day 2. This is the stage beyond the hustle where we will hopefully gain some very deep insights from people who've already done the work and share with us. My name is Mira Jago. I'm an app developer and I run the co-working space Techte Nächte at Ostkreuz, where we have lots of awesome freelancers sitting there. And also Freelance Unlocked is also sitting there. This is why now this is my job for today. I'm moderating the stage. And yes, I want to welcome Ricardo Brito to stage. He is our first speaker of the day, a solopreneur, a co-pilot for solopreneurs. He's done the journey himself already, and he's telling us how to get from freelancing to solopreneurship. And I myself am very excited to hear you talk. Have fun. This is your microphone.
Thank you so much. Is this on? Well, thank you everyone for being here and to decide that this is the best time the best spot to be at 10 a.m. on a Friday. So I really appreciate it. Hello, welcome. Thank you, Mira. It's very special for me to be here today because it's a very close to my heart topic, and it's also especially nice because I have people that I work with that I will share the stage that maybe a few months or maybe a year ago they started their business and now they are here presenting their business. So that full circle warms my heart to see Magda here and having some other people here too, like Alexis and some other people that I work with. So the question that I want to stay with you today is to figure out if solopreneurship is for you. And I know this is a hot topic. Solopreneurship, maybe it's an overglorified term for freelancing. Freelancers get maybe touchy with that. Solopreneurs want to make a difference from freelancing. So I hope I will help you clarify what is what and where do you stay and what does it make sense for you. So my name is Ricardo. I'm from Portugal. I have 15 years in different kind of careers, design, innovation, field career as a horror movie director, and now I help people building solo businesses. I run the Solo Accelerator, which is a working environment for freelancers and solopreneurs to build their business, where there is masterclasses, strategy sessions, co-working, and where I get expert people to come and share different knowledge with us. I'm also the author of Solo by Design, which is a weekly newsletter about how to build a sustainable solo business. And I'm the author of the slightly chaotic but totally worth it adventure of becoming a solopreneur, which you have a couple of examples there. First come, first serve. You can get your own copy. I have some more if you reach out later. And there is also some cool stickers because, you know, one of the coolest things to have your own business is merch. It's like 50% of the intention. So I know it's a bit early, but I wanted to take into a kitchen. I know, I can see some stomachs rumbling right now. But when you enter a kitchen, there are, people chopping, people, frying stuff, and there's screaming people, and there's like things happening all over the place. And this can be any kitchen, right? This can be a roadside kitchen, this can be a Michelin restaurant kitchen, this can be, your typical restaurant that you go on a Sunday. But in a kitchen, if you stay there for a long time, you're going to understand, even if people that looks like they are doing the same, they are doing something very different. And there are at least two roles in a kitchen. There is a chef. Well, I should have started with the other one. There is a cook and there is a chef. Both of them take a lot of time to master, and they are their own professions on their own. You can live a whole life with either. They are not better than the other, but they are very different. The cook executes a dish. He's very good at chopping, he's very good at plating, they exchange time for money and for shifts, and they took years to master that craft. A chef decides which dish gets cooked. Why is it in the menu in the first place? How can we make it profitable? What kind of experience does that create on the restaurant? And the problem that I see is that, and we're going to explore for the next 15 minutes, is
If you are a cook operating as a chef, you have a problem. If you are a chef operating as a cook, you have another. So by the end of this talk, I want to understand and I want you to figure out where do you stand or where do you want to go? Because this is all about being intentional on what do you do. A restaurant starts with a menu. And typically, a freelance menu starts like that. I do graphic design. Then I do branding. But this client asked me to do a workshop. And now I do workshops. And this client now asked me to do a landing page. Why not? Now a landing page. Then you start building and building your menu. You start adding dishes, often by fear of losing business, because you add dishes in order to not lose business. But then you start adding all of these things. So suddenly you do sushi, burgers, pasta, pizza, kebabs, and we know that those restaurants, you are perceived as low quality. You're probably going to get food poisoning, and nobody knows what to hire. Because the client that wants sushi is not the same client as wants a burger. And let's not even talking about vegans. But you ended up here. You have a gigantic menu that nobody wants or knows what to order from. And you know these restaurants that you have like 20 pages menu and you ended up like always ordering the same thing because like you can't be bothered? That's how your clients feel, if they buy something at all. A kitchen works with equipment. And a lot of us really love to talk about the equipment. You took your date to a nice restaurant. You want to have a nice time. And the chef comes out, although this goes also for cooks, and they go, I have the most beautiful Japanese craft knife done by a 95-year-old guy in the mountains of Fukushima. The blade is handmade. We have the best top-notch German oven that we can control. It's like a NASA spaceship. And you are there, it's just like, and why do I care? I'm hungry. I want to impress her. And I don't know what dish I'm going to eat. And why? And what can it do for me? And this is a problem that I see both freelancers and solopreneurs doing. We keep talking about knives. We keep talking about the oven. We don't talk about the dishes, what the outcomes we create for our clients. So we keep just very passionately about talking about, I use Claude, I do this, I do that, this is my skills, look at my process, I have so many tools. And the client, why do I care? The problem with this is that we were trained for that, because that's how we evolve in employment. You need to prove your skills, you need to prove your capabilities. But once you move to a freelancer or a solopreneur business, your client does not care about that. They just care about the outcomes that you have, that you create for them. Sure, part of that decision is how do you do it? Are you equipped to do it? But that's further down the line. They just want a sanity check about, okay, this person can do it for me. So stop talking about the knives. Now, restaurants. If you mix this massive menu and you talking about knives, it's the equivalent of opening a restaurant that says best kitchen. You have absolutely no idea what this restaurant is about. So once we go to a restaurant, we have a need. We want to take our partner to a romantic dinner. We are on a budget, so we need a quick business lunch. Or we want to close a business. All of these restaurants have different experience, different menus, and different prices. If you don't know what kind of restaurant you are, you cannot build a menu because you don't know your client. You don't know what kind of dishes you need to create. You don't know how to price it. And if you just go around like, hey, I have the best kitchen, I still don't know what you do. And this is what a lot of us do. Hey, I'm the best product designer. Okay, that's great. That's what you do. But in what? What do you do? For what kind of clients? What is the outcomes? So it's very important to understand that when the client is shopping around for a restaurant, is exactly the same way they are shopping around for you. They need to know what they're getting into. And you need to be conscious of the restaurant that you are creating. Something that is very hard to admit to ourselves is that often we are just cooking in someone else's kitchen. We think we are doing our own restaurant. We think that, maybe it's even our kitchen, but we are not. We are jumping from client to client and collecting knives on the side. And we get super proud about those knives. And we keep showing those knives and we keep carrying those knives. And that's why we keep moving from kitchen to kitchen. And this is one of the main differences between freelancing and solopreneurs. Again, nothing wrong with being a freelancer. I love the nomadic lifestyle that the cook has because it's exciting. You move from kitchen to kitchen. You are kind of a mercenary. You go from place to place and you have a great time. But you are not compounding. After 10 years, you worked in 20 different kitchens, but you still need to look for the next kitchen. A solopreneur builds a restaurant. They build something that compounds. And we need to do it very consciously. So one way that many freelancers deal with these problematics is, you know what, I'm going to add a template that I'm going to sell and start some passive income. Or I'm going to productize a service. But you cannot create something of value if you didn't define who your client is, if you didn't define what kind of restaurant you are creating, what kind of dishes should be served. You just create another dish to a chaotic menu that you probably didn't design it yourself. So it's very important that just adding stuff on top of your services or on top of your knives and skills and ovens does not turn that into a business until you define who you are, what do you bring, and for who you are cooking. A freelancer, like a cook, tends to need to have some sort of process and some sort of environment to be working at. Again, someone else's kitchen. But a real kitchen runs even when the chef is not there because it has processes, it has steps, it has costs, it has a logic behind and a strategy behind why we are cooking these dishes, for whom, how much do they cost. I tried once to do a meatball business from my home. That's what the logo is about. I do not recommend. It's a terrible business. But if you need a good recipe for pistachio meatballs, I can give you one. So the difference is there's nothing wrong with being a chef or nothing wrong with being a cook, and I just really want to hammer it because this talk can come across as I'm anti-freelancer and pro-solopreneur, and I'm not. But what I see is that we are not cooking with intention. And it's very important to understand what we are cooking and what kind of restaurant we are building. So look at your business and think, who's this restaurant for? What's on the menu? Who's this restaurant for is your client? What kind of problems do you solve? For what type of companies? Who's your buyer? What are you trying to help them with? What's on the menu is like, it's your product. Is how do you help them? What kind of dishes do you serve so they can get the experience? What's the appetizer? What's the main? What's the dessert? What's the whole shebang? What's your signature dish? What is the thing that you are actually known for? Oops, sorry. And then you can talk about the method. Yeah, talk about the Japanese knife and the oven and all of that when the client asks. And how are you setting up your kitchen to serve everything? This goes about processes, this goes about tooling, how you work. 4 years ago, I was a cook pretending to be a chef. So I've been there. I thought I had a business, but to be honest, I was serving so many clients with so little processes, and I thought, I can do everything. I'm just a one-person business. I said to myself that I don't need processes. I don't need to think about my clients. I don't need to. I have all of these tools, and these tools can solve so many problems. Why not? But it was terrible. I was serving like really half-assed dishes that people sometimes liked, sometimes didn't. My clientele was all over the place, and so were their budgets, which was not great for my bank account. So I needed to understand what kind of restaurant am I building and for whom. This is my restaurant. I work with two types of people. I work with experienced freelancers who never had to do sales, never had to do marketing, And now they are struggling with finding business because the market has changed since 2022. Clients are looking for specific problem solvers to specific values with specific ways of solving their problems. And they don't want to make me think on how I can fit your skills into my problem. Just tell me how you're going to solve it. And I also work with other type of people, which is the people who are coming from corporate and building an intentional solopreneur business. The common thread amongst those two is that they have more than 10, 12 years of experience. They have a lot of skills. They can go in multiple directions, but it's hard to create the structure and an intentional business step by step. That's what my restaurant is for. What's on the menu? My products. I have an appetizer. I start with a free business sanity check call. You can come in, have a call with me for 45 minutes. We talk about your problems. Maybe I provide some solutions and some input. You get a snack. Then, if it makes sense, you join to the solo accelerator. Because that's my main. That's the thing that is always on rotation. And if you really want a full experience and you want a full tasting menu, okay, I work with you for 4 months and I build the business together with you. My signature dish that goes across everything is a business strategy call where we sit down, I go through all your business, you fill in a big survey, I understand where your problems are, where your gaps are, and then I provide you a plan. And I do it for every single client. That's my signature dish. The method is that I make a cut through the cake. I am not specialized in anything like sales or products. For this stage of people, where people are, you need somebody that has a good overview of how things connect. That's my point. I make a cut through the cake. I help you figure out that first version of your business. Product, service, sales. If you get more specific problems at a certain point because your business scaled, that's another restaurant. For now, this is my method for this restaurant. How did I set up my kitchen to serve? Easy. I have processes, repeatable processes, so it saves me time. I have systems, which I never wanted to because I'm not the system person, but now I have CRM, automations. I have ways to onboarding my clients. I invested in that. I invested in the tools, but I never mentioned that to my clients because I don't care about my backend. But it's there. I designed my menu and my business to be scalable. Not into franchises, but it's kind of there if I want to do it. One thing I want you to stay with today is to think about in which kitchen are you working. Is it your kitchen? Is it your restaurant? Are you building a restaurant? Are you happy to be a cook? Are you happy to be a chef? Which one are you? It's important to understand that whatever you do, either as a cook or as a chef, as a freelancer or as a solopreneur, you do it with intention. You are the best cook that can be, but don't pretend to be a chef. And you are the best chef you can be, but don't pretend to be a cook. And that's the question I want to leave you today. Thank you.
Yeah, we have some questions in Slido. You can also, I don't know, do you have the QR code at the moment? Maybe we can do one. Have you scanned this to connect with him? Then we can go further. And this is a QR code if you want to send some questions. The one we have already is how do you make an acquisition and new business?
That really depends on what kind of business it is, what kind of client is it. That's the point, right? I don't have a specific method for client acquisition. And what I help my clients with is to figure out what works for them as a person and personality, what makes sense for their businesses, what channels and what methods. Sometimes it's cold outreach, sometimes it's content, sometimes it's partnerships, sometimes it's just organic marketing. There is no specific way that always works for everyone. I have people who run carpentering business. I have people who run healing business. I have people who run AI businesses. They all have very different clients that buy differently, are in different places. The important thing is to really find what works for you and what not.
So I have a question for you. What was the most interesting client that you had, like in the matter of like what he or she did? Like where you were like, oh my God, I have no idea what this is about, but this is interesting to get into.
I think they're all interesting, I have to say. I mean, there are things that I would never thought of or getting into, but I think they're all interesting in their own ways, because often or all the time the people that I've worked with is a mix of their experience, of their passion, and that's a very unique combination. And I think the challenge for me, and always, or the fun part, is to figure out what works for them in that context and figuring out with them. But I will not single out one because they're amazing.
Okay, we have some more questions. Can you give a definition of what a solopreneur is in comparison to a business owner or founder?
Yeah, that's a good one. So there is this difference between an entrepreneur and a solopreneur. I see more an entrepreneur as somebody who wants to scale a company and eventually really scale a company with people and VC money investment and getting an exit, something like that. A solopreneur keeps it small by default. Of course, you might work with partners. Of course, you might even hire people, but you are not trying to build a massive scaling company. Of course, if you go into the direction of your own brand to become the company and that scales, that's a whole different story. But I think that's the main difference. It's like solopreneurs tend to focus on themselves and something that scales with them, while entrepreneurs just want to scale something. And it's very different.
Yes. And you work mostly with solopreneurs.
Exclusively.
Right? Exclusively. Yeah. Do you have clients where you do revenue sharing?
No. But it's been suggested a couple of times.
Yeah. What do we have here? How do you figure out what kind of kitchen or menu you actually want to be running?
Oh, that's a good question. Tough times for restaurants. I think, first of all, it's a mix between what can you deliver, what your skills are, and what kind of problems can those skills solve. Understanding what kind of client do you want to serve and what kind of problems do you want to solve. So then we figure out what kind of dishes or products you need to build. I think the hardest part to swallow in all of this, and especially in an economic downturn, is that maybe your ideal client is not the client that's going to pay right now. So it's also very important to understand in your landscape of things you like to do, which is going to be the one that will pay you. Because sometimes the clients that we want to work, they don't have the money, or they don't have the money right now. Or even another thing is, if you are in a nice to have business these days, either you move your business to a problem that is a must have, so clients pay for it, or you find what is the most critical angle in your nice to have business for your clients, so they are encouraged to pay.
Yeah, well put. Okay, I think we have room for one or two more. You mentioned that people are not interested in the tools you are using, but nowadays a lot of clients require from me to use AI. How do you deal with it?
Good question. But why do they ask that? What are they trying to figure out? I think that's also the important thing. Like, is being curious about is not about do I use it or not. Like, what is behind that question? What are they trying to understand? And also in the sales process, where are they asking that? If they're asking that right on the beginning, I'm not sure if that's the client you want to work with, because they are seeing you as somebody hands for hire and can you use this tool and onboarded. If they ask that towards the end of the sales process, that's more encouraging, because they are like, okay, it seems that I perceive your value. It seems that I perceive the outcomes. And now there is some checks we need to do to make a decision.
I feel there are two reasons why they ask. If I'm asked that question, it's usually, do I pay too much for you? Because when a software developer doesn't use AI, it takes, of course, longer. So that is a question that they want, or because they have the aim to be more innovative and use some AI. So they have this urge to do that. So they want to assure that you are also a modern person who will bring this to their business.
Yeah.
I feel these are the two kind of, at least that I have encountered so far.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. And I think, for example, for me, there's like connecting to Elina's talk yesterday, like this value-based pricing. If a client is just asking that to haggle money,
Yeah.
is really, I mean, if you're a cheap restaurant, sure, by any means.
Yeah.
But if you are a fine dining restaurant, don't dump your price.
Very good point. Okay. Let's see what's here interesting. What's your take, this one I also would like to know. What's your take on having one focused business versus multiple smaller businesses and revenue streams?
Oh, I love that. I think the thing that often overlooked is it takes time to build one. If you're trying to build multiple at the same time, you might end up burn out and with no income. And I think that's the thing that people also tend to overlooked is how long it takes to be profitable and to compound. And only then you can do the next one. I tend to talk with my clients in the way that if you have a second idea that it could be an interesting point, but you are much more advanced in this, run it like a company. This is your main business. Make it as profitable as you can. This is your R&D department. Have fun, experiment, but don't count on income right now and always prioritize this one for now. So it's a balancing act.
Yeah, good point. I also feel that it's about communication, right? Because you want to communicate one thing to your customer if possible, that they connect you to one thing. If you are like, oh, and I do software development, but I also do yoga, but I also do this, then this doesn't present a good picture to the customer, or an easy picture to the customer, right?
If you put everything under the same LinkedIn banner, that's
it's going to be difficult.
That's going to be tough. But if you create multiple,
but I've seen this a couple of times.
It's true. It's true. Me too. Yeah.
Do people need to become good freelancers before going into solo? When do you see the shift happening?
I think the shift should happen as soon as possible because as a freelancer, you are an expert. And their expertise is what you sell in your solopreneur business. So that's the product.
Okay.
So if as soon as possible you can start as a business owner, you start building the processes and the strategies and everything from the beginning, that is also going to make you a better freelancer. So
there's no reason to put it off. Yes.
No.
Very good. Last question. Oh no, we have two more. What are the different paths for a chef? You start a restaurant, what are the directions it can take?
Oh, that went very meta. Looking at successful chefs, after the restaurants, they create labs. They start teaching that to other people. They start teaching cooking to other chefs. They start creating products that enables other chefs to do that job because they become such an expert on that. I think that's probably one route. Or again, you can open another restaurant with different dishes, different audience, and then you have a second business. Or write a cookbook.
So many possibilities. Very nice. Okay, last question. As a cook, is there a limit on growth? If I sell time, I assume there is a limit to reach, but I don't want to be chef and run a restaurant. Thoughts?
Okay, this is going to take another turn, but as employability is becoming more scarce and less secure as it used to be, as social systems and social support also becomes more scarce, if you keep just trading time for money, you are in a terrible position to be at. So I think for me, what was the original question again? I went on a political rant. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Just continue your rant. I also forgot the question.
I think it's important to know how to make money by ourselves. If you continue to be a cook, we're always going to trade time for money. Believe me, I don't know any happy cook after 50s.
Yeah.
They cannot stand it anymore. They have back pain. They have knee pain. They cannot stand the young people. And I think we also need to predict that, right? And I think if you build something that compounds, like a solopreneur, you build your own assets, you build your own, network, you build your own something that compounds, you have more possibilities to make more money and being more secure, although nothing is secure in this life, than just a cook who's good, is a shift based. yeah, is no different than an Uber driver in that regard.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your talk. I found it very entertaining.
Thank you. Some books or stickers, feel free.